Imagine this is your money. How quickly do you think it can become like this? Imagine you're holding a single seed in your hand, something so tiny that it almost feels useless. And then picture that same seed growing into a massive tree over time. At first, nothing seems to be happening. The soil looks unchanged. The world looks the same. But underneath the surface, something small is slowly preparing to become something enormous. Your money works the same way. The idea of doubling feels like magic, but it's not magic, it's math, it's time, and it's your choices all layered on top of each other. Most people underestimate how fast it can happen, and even more people underestimate how slow it can be if you put your money in the wrong place. And that tiny misunderstanding completely changes the way people treat their money. So let me take you on a little mental journey. Imagine you take $10, just 10. You put it somewhere safe, somewhere simple, somewhere you barely think about. And one day you wake up and that $10 has become 20. And then much later, that 20 becomes 40. And eventually, maybe without you even noticing, it becomes 80. The first jump feels impossible. The second jump feels interesting. And the third jump feels unreal. But here is the strange part. The third jump usually happens faster than the first one. And the fourth jump happens even faster than the third. It's almost like once the doubling starts, it gets impatient. It wants to accelerate. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill, getting heavier, faster, and more powerful with every rotation. But the real question is, when will this doubling happen? The truth is that doubling isn't determined by luck, or by magic, or by how much money you start with. It depends on one thing: the rate at which your money grows. And the fascinating part is that once you truly understand how this rate works, your entire relationship with money changes forever. You start to look at your savings differently. You start to look at your choices differently. You even start to look at time differently. Because doubling doesn't just happen in bank accounts. It happens in your habits, in your discipline, and in your patience. There's a famous idea called the Rule of 72. It's not complicated. You don't need to be a mathematician to understand it. It simply says this: if you want to estimate how long it takes for your money to double, you take the number 72 and divide it by your rate of return. That's it. If your money grows at 6% per year, you do 72 divided by 6, which equals 12. That means it takes 12 years for your money to double. If you grow at 12% per year, you do 72 divided by 12, which equals 6. That means your money doubles in just 6 years. The difference between waiting 12 years or 6 years might not seem enormous at first, but when you keep doubling again and again, the time saved becomes life-changing. To understand doubling, let's slow down and imagine something simple. Imagine planting a small tree. The first year it barely grows. The second year, it grows a little more. The third year, it still looks weak. But eventually you look away for a moment, and suddenly it has become tall and strong. Most of the growth took place toward the end, not at the beginning. And that is exactly how compounding works. The early years feel boring. They feel slow. They feel like nothing is happening. But eventually, the growth becomes so fast that your brain can barely understand it. But let's make this extremely simple. With real numbers you can visualize. Imagine you put $1,000 in something that grows at 3% per year. Using the rule, 72 divided by 3 equals 24. So your money doubles in 24 years. That means $1,000 becomes $2,000. That's not bad, but 24 years is a long time. It's almost a generation. Now imagine that instead of 3%, you find something that grows at 7%. Now it doubles in just over 10 years. Suddenly time speeds up. But now imagine 10%. Now your money doubles in a little over 7 years. And if you reach 12%, it halves again, doubling in just 6 years. Here's the crazy part. Most people assume the difference between 7% and 12% is small. They think, well, 12% is only 5% more. But in the world of doubling, that small difference completely changes everything. At 7%, your money doubles once every decade. At 12%, your money can double twice in the same decade. Twice. That's the power of acceleration. And imagine if you invest even more money, how much you can earn. And to have more money to invest, you can just open your YouTube channel, since YouTube is literally on easy mode now, and it's blowing up every small channel that does things right, as I teach you in my free Telegram community with the link below. Now imagine someone who consistently grows their money at 3%. Over 30 years, they might double once, maybe twice. Now imagine someone growing at 12%. Over the same time period, They might see their money double 5 or 6 times. A little here, a little there, repeated consistently, turns into something enormous. Let's make it even clearer. Imagine 2 people. Let's call them Alex and Veronica. Alex puts $10,000 into something safe growing at 3%. After 24 years, it becomes $20,000. After another 24 years, it becomes $40,000. Slow, steady, nothing surprising. Veronica puts $10,000 into something that grows at 12%. After 6 years, it becomes $20,000. After 12 years, it becomes $40,000. After 18 years, it becomes $80,000. After 24 years, it becomes $160,000. And after 30 years, it becomes more than $320,000. 2 people. Same starting point. One ends with $40,000. The other ends with over $300,000. The only difference was the speed at which their money doubled. And the faster growth didn't require more effort. It just required better choices, more patience, and an understanding of how doubling works. That's why people who understand compounding treat their money very differently from those who don't. They don't get overly excited by quick wins or flashy promises. They simply look for consistency, reliability, and growth that can last for decades. But here's something most people forget. Doubling doesn't happen only with investment returns. It also happens with your habits. If you consistently save more money, your contributions double faster. If you reduce your expenses, the money you free up doubles your savings rate instantly. If you improve your skills and earn more, you double your ability to invest. Doubling is not just something that happens in the market, it's something that happens in your behavior. But let's stay focused on the mystery of time. Because time is the real engine. Time is the real multiplier. You could earn a high return, but if you don't give it time, you don't get the doubling. You could invest early, but if you interrupt it constantly, you slow down the doubling. You could have all the knowledge in the world, but without patience, doubling doesn't happen. Time is the quiet partner in all of this. And that brings us to the question that almost everybody asks at some point. What is the fastest, realistic way for money to double? Is it the stock market? Is it real estate? Is it something riskier, something exciting, something aggressive? The truth is, doubling can happen fast if you chase high returns. But high returns come with danger. They come with volatility, fear, ups and downs, and sometimes losses that erase years of progress. So it's not just about speed, it's about balance. You want a doubling speed that is fast enough to be meaningful, but steady enough to be safe. Most people underestimate how fast a good return can transform their lives. They underestimate how powerful a 7% return is over time. They underestimate how much a 10% return changes everything. They underestimate how often they get in their own way by switching strategies, panicking, or waiting too long to start. And they underestimate how much doubling favors the one who begins early. Think about a child who invests at age 20 and grows their money for 40 years. Even if the child only experiences average returns, the number of doublings is enormous. But imagine someone who starts at age 40. They have half the time, which means half the number of doublings. And that means vastly different outcomes. Doubling is time sensitive. It rewards those who start early, those who stay consistent, and those who stay patient. So ask yourself, how fast do you want your money to double? How many doublings do you want in your lifetime? What return rate are you aiming for? And how much time will you give your money to grow? Because the fastest way to double your money is not just through high returns. It's through starting now. It's through giving your money enough years to build momentum. And once that momentum begins, once the snowball starts rolling, once the doubling becomes a pattern instead of a dream, that's when everything changes. So now let's go even deeper, because doubling your money is not just about numbers on a screen or percentages on an investment. It's about the way your decisions stack on top of each other. It's about how your habits become part of the equation. It's about how your mindset interacts with time. And most importantly, it's about understanding that the moment your money doubles once, the entire game changes. The second doubling's faster, the third doubling's even faster. What starts slow eventually becomes unstoppable. It becomes a force that moves forward, even when you're asleep, even when you're not paying attention, even when life is busy and chaotic and unpredictable. So let's make this extremely clear with a picture you'll never forget. Imagine you're sitting at a small wooden table. On the table is a single grain of rice. Someone tells you they will give you a choice. You can either take a large pile of rice right now, something impressive and heavy and instantly satisfying, or you can choose the tiny grain on the table, and have it doubled every single day for 30 days. Almost everyone takes the big pile. It feels real. It feels safe. It feels like progress. But what they don't understand is that the first doubling is boring. 1 grain becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8. It still looks pathetic. But by the time you reach the middle of the month, the pile starts to grow. And by the end of the month, the rice becomes enormous, larger than anything you could have imagined. Doubling is invisible at first, then unstoppable later. Your money works exactly the same way. When your wealth is small, doubling feels slow, almost disappointing. But once your base grows, once your foundation is strong, the doubling becomes rapid and breathtaking. The question is not whether doubling works. The question is whether you give it time to show you what it can do. Let's use a real-world example. Imagine someone has $20,000 invested. They're earning about 10% per year. That means their money doubles roughly every 7 years. After 7 years, they have $40,000. After 14 years, they have $80,000. After 21 years, they have $160,000. After 28 years, they have $320,000. After 35 years, they have over $640,000. Nothing magical happened. No lottery tickets. No risky gambles. Just doubling. And the longer they let the doubling continue, the more explosive the results become. But what happens if someone interrupts the process? What if they withdraw money, stop investing, panic during downturns, or constantly switch strategies? The doubling slows down, the timeline stretches, and the snowball begins to shrink. Doubling thrives on consistency, not perfection. It doesn't require you to be a genius. It just requires you to stay the course. To understand how fast doubling can become a real force in your life, imagine 2 friends, Veronica and Alex from before. They both decide to invest, but they do it differently. Veronica invests $300 a month starting at age 22. She earns about 9% a year, which means her money doubles roughly every 8 years. She keeps contributing, never skipping a month. By the time she's 30, her money has doubled once. By 38, it has doubled again. By 46, again. By 54 again. And by the time she reaches 62, her money has doubled roughly 5 times. That means her $300 monthly contributions have grown into hundreds of thousands, possibly even over $1 million, depending on the market's performance. Alex starts later. He waits until age 35. He contributes the same amount, gets the same returns, has the same intelligence, the same discipline, once he begins. But he has one disadvantage. He started 13 years later. Those 13 years cost him 1, maybe even 2 doublings. And those missed doublings change everything. Even though Alex is responsible and consistent once he begins, he can never catch up to Veronica, simply because she gave her money more time to double. That's why the speed of doubling is powerful. Not just because of the returns, but because of the time you give those returns to do their job. And imagine if you can invest more and more money, you can do it with YouTube, since YouTube is on easy mode. And if you want my help on that, you can join my free Telegram community with the link below. But let's talk about accelerating the doubling. Because even though patience is essential, there are ways to speed things up.